In today's upcycled projects, we're going to be ripping and cutting and poking our way into making some beautiful decor. I'm also going to be sharing some clips at the end of a trip I took with the girls to the Maine Botanical Gardens Lights Aglow. You're going to love this trip. Every so often I like to bring things home from my booth that had just been sitting for a while and give them a makeover and see if I can get it sold a little bit quicker. So this pegboard or coat rack has been in my booth for a little bit, and I wanted to do a little makeover on it. And we're going to start with taking the pegs out and then ripping the paper that was on top off. It peeled off pretty good, but the under layer, there was a layer of thin paper. So I just took my water sprayer and sprayed it with water. I knew it was wood underneath, so it was okay. And I just sprayed it down to wet it so that I could scrape it off. And that worked really well, and it revealed some beautiful wood underneath. Now I was going to recover this, and then when I saw how nice the wood was, I decided I didn't want to do that. But I also noticed that in pencil, somebody had written the number 8 on the board. So I took my sandpaper and started to sand that 8 and trying to get it off, and it worked really well. It came off. I gave everything a nice little sand, so it was all down pretty much to the same plane as everything else, so that when I did stain it, oil it, whatever I was going to do, it would all be on the same level or the same colors from the sanding. So the next thing that I wanted to do is to paint the edges. This is like a pressed layered board with some really nice wood on the top and I think on the bottom. So what I wanted to do was paint it to take away that layered effect a little bit and hopefully disguise it so that you couldn't tell that it was layered wood pressed together. So I did that. I went all the way around and just did a nice coat of black paint. And anywhere that I got it on top of my wood, I just went back with my sandpaper and sanded it down. Once the edges were dry, I dug around and looked for my stamps that I wanted to use. And I'm going to use this Mercantile stamp with the grain sack stripe. I'm going to do that along the bottom where the pegs go in. And then I will pick something else to go over the top in the middle. So we're going to start with that. Now, I don't think I've ever used this before, and it's very sticky. So typically with your IOD stamps, you want to sand them down a little bit before you add your paint because they are so sticky. So I went ahead and did that. I flipped it over, and the part where you put the paint, I sanded it down just a little bit, and that seemed to work really well. The other projects that I used today, I think I already had used these in other things, so I didn't bother with that one. So once I did that, I am using I think it's my Waverly black paint that I'm using in this. Because it dries so quickly, I want this to dry and get going on this and finish putting the rest of the stamps on. So I'm just going to take a brush and put the paint on just kind of willy-nilly, make sure it's kind of covered. This is going to be a distressed looking piece, so I'm okay if it doesn't cover completely. Now I'm just going to go all the way across with this, and then once I lift it up, you'll see that there is a separation there, and that's okay. I'm going to take my paintbrush with a little bit of black paint and kind of blend those two sections together. Then we're going to distress it back, and you're not even going to notice once you get the pegs on and everything else that that's even there. So I'm just going to just kind of pounce a little bit on there and make a bit of a mess, but it's okay. And then I just went along with my brush and added a little bit more paint on that second stamp that I did so that it was a little bit darker, just like the other one. Because again, when I distress back with some sandpaper, it's going to take some paint off, and I don't want one side to be less paint than the other. So this is going to look really good once it's done. I decided on the wreath form that I wanted to also stamp on the board. So I found kind of the middle by eyeballing it and added that to my board. And I only did the sides. I didn't do the bottom part because I didn't want that to go down into a grain sack stripe. So I put it down and I moved just a little bit on that left side. But again, I'm going to sand it. So you're not going to see it very well. You know, once I get it sanded down, it's going to kind of hide that kind of little smudge, I guess you'd call it. So then I'm going to take my heat gun and dry that a little bit so that I can then go and grab the rooster that goes in the middle of this and add that to the board. Once all of my paint was dry, I went back over everything with my sandpaper and sanded that down, trying to cover up some of my boo-boos. And I decided that I was going to take the pegs and paint those black so they would blend in with my grain sack stripe. And so I did all 4 of those, let them dry, and then I also sanded and distressed those as well. Now I went back and forth with this on what I should put on the board. I wanted to be able to see that wood, but I also wanted it darkened. So I took some watered down antique wax and just added that all over the board, over the black and everything. Of course, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I love the antique wax over the black paint. It just looks so good to me and antique-y, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to wipe this all over the board, and then I will take a rag and wipe it back and just get as much of it off as I can. I want that rich brown look, but I also want to be able to see the grains in the wood. And I think this worked out really well, and I love the look of this board. I'm pretty excited about this napkin that I found from Amazon. You'll be seeing this again in the future. I have a craft kit coming out in January that I'm working on, and I will be using this napkin, but I could not wait to use it on these cutouts. I have some mitten cutouts and some ice skates that I wanted to do some winter decor for, and these are for 24-hour crafts. I'll have the link to the napkins, 24-hour crafts, and a discount code that you can use for the 24-hour crafts, as I am an affiliate, so you will get a nice savings from them. I coffee stained some fuzzy material that I had in my stash, and I sprinkled it with some of my grubby mix, which is cinnamon and allspice and coffee and all that. And then I just kind of let it sit, and then it left little stains on the material. So I really like how that came out. Next, what I want to do is peel the paper off the back of my cutouts that I get from 24-hour crafts. They always come like this, and in order to use both sides, you just need to peel that paper off, and it's very easy to do so. Or you could leave it on, that's totally up to you. But I'm going to be using or painting both sides of these, and one side's going to get decoupage, the other side's going to be stained, so I want to make sure I take that film or paper off the back. Normally I would peel off the layers from my napkins, but these napkins are single layer. They do not have a second layer. I tried to peel it, and there is no second layer or third layer on these, so I didn't have to peel the backing off these at all. But I do want to separate them up. I'm trying to find which ones will match together for a pair of mittens or the skates. So I really want to do this bird on one of the mittens. So I'm trying to figure out which one matches the best with the bird, the coloring and all that. And then I will go ahead and do the other pair of mittens and then the skates as well. Once I get which pictures I'm going to use figured out, I added the Mod Podge to my mitten, and I left the top without any Mod Podge because I will be adding that grubby material that I had coffee stained. So I didn't really go into that very much, but basically I had a cup of coffee in the morning. After I got my cup, I ran another couple cups through my coffee maker and put it into a bowl, and then just set that material in there. And then while it was sitting there, I just sprinkled my grubby mix, or you could use cinnamon or instant coffee, anything. Just let it sit on there and it will stain that material. And then all I did was squeeze it out. I didn't rinse it or anything like that. I just squeezed it out and just let it air dry. And it worked out great. So as you can see, all I did with the napkin is just put it on the Mod Podge, and then I'm rubbing it down and trimming up the paper around the mitten. I sealed in the tops of my paper with some more Mod Podge and just set that aside to let it dry. If you're not or haven't yet subscribed to my channel, but you're enjoying the content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button and the bell. That bell will let you know anytime I upload a long form, short form video, or a live, or even a community post. So stay in touch. After everything dried, I then flipped them over and added some antique wax along the back to give them a stained look, and then wiped those back. I also went around the edges to darken those up, and then once I had that all done and wiped down, I flipped them over and did around the edges of the mittens to give them a little bit of an antiqued look. So just a little bit here and there, went around, and you can see that I'm switching between the two sets of mittens so you can kind of see what papers I used. I used every paper for all three of these projects. It worked out really well. So there you can see I just put that on and then just kind of wiped it off and gave it a nice aged look on those. Now to add my material, I'm just going to use hot glue to put this on. I cut a strip of the material down, and I'm just going to hot glue that onto the top. I'm going to leave a little bit around the edges so that I can wrap it around, but I'm not going to go all the way around, just a little bit. So I'm just going to hot glue that on there, and I think these came out looking so stinking cute. Once I got all the material around the tops of them, I wanted to put them together with some hot glue. I didn't add a hanger to them because they can sit on a tree if you wanted them to, but I wanted this to be more winter decor, so I think these would be great on a tiered tray or on a shelf and with a little vignette of your winter stuff, in with your primitive snowmen or just some winter berries or something like that. I think it would look so cute just sitting on a tiered tray, anything like that. So these will be great for Christmas or winter time. I also did up the skates. I added some twine, a rusty safety pin, and a rusty bell to add to my rustic touch. winding down on my Christmas decor, but I forgot I bought 3 of these little gift packages from Dollar Tree for $1.25 a piece. And I had this really cute little stand and a little candle holder without the candle holder. It's just a little hole in the bottom. So I decided what I wanted to do is to use a skewer and glue that down inside, and then slide these, after putting a hole in, slide these little packages down inside or down through these skewers. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see the skewer, so I added some antique wax to it and just kind of stained it just in case you can see it. And then I'm gluing that down in the hole like I said. And then I'm going to work on, once I get that straight, because it went in kind of crooked and it dries, I'm going to take a different skewer with the pointy end and start going through the packages and get those so I can slide them down over the skewer that I have glued into the candle holder. I pushed the packages down and squished them so that I could trim the stick on the top, and then when they popped back up, it would go down inside the package. I glued them together underneath and kind of hid where I glued them a little bit. I added a greenery ring that I had, and I had cut off some pieces so that I could get it in there, and I was going to just randomly pop them in underneath the packages. I'm going to stick some Spanish moss down in so that I can cover up any places that you're going to be able to see underneath. And then once I did that, I took the little pieces of greenery that I had cut off, and I'm going to just glue those in to fill up this candle ring to make it look a little bit better. Once I filled in the greenery, I realized that it needed a little bit of red around in and out of the greenery, and so I just cut off some berries that I had from a garland and tucked those in random spots around the edges of my little tabletop display. I did a couple of glittery pine cones, and this little tabletop piece is done. Recently, I went on an overnight trip with the girls, meaning my sister, my aunt, and 3 of my cousins, and we had such fun. This is from the Gardens Aglow 10th anniversary at the Maine Botanical Gardens down on the coast. It is in Booth Bay. I put a few clips together of the walk around, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Bye.